Next, I'm going to teach you something I call the high pass thing. Yeah, I'm not very good with names. Basically, it's an inverted and blurred high pass that allows us to smooth out transitions between light and shadow. It's kind of like the dirty and cheap way of doing Dutch and burn. It's fast, it's not as accurate or as high-end or undestructive as Dutch and burn is, but certainly is quicker. Before doing that, I forgot to mask out the background in the split. Usually when you do in the split, it might cause some banding in gradient backgrounds, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna mask out the split in the background area. There we go. I went over the line a little bit. And now we are ready. To do the high pass thing, we need to create a stamp of all the layers. So again, we're gonna create a new layer by clicking on the layer icon, and we are gonna press Command Option Shift E in a Mac and Control Alt Shift E in a PC to create a stamp of all the layers. Basically, the high pass filter is gonna give you an edge of a texture depending on the radius you use. We're gonna call this inverted high pass because that's what we are going to do. The first thing we need to do is we need to identify the area of problem. So let's zoom in to see the problem. I want to eliminate the hard transition between this shadow, can you see it here, this shadow, and the light area. You see the transition is not very smooth, it's kind of hard. So we're going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass, and we're going to visualize how the high pass works. Now, at lower range and lower radius, we're gonna see just a very, very fine texture. See, at 1.7, we can barely see anything, just pixel dust. Let's go to 12, and now we see texture, but we don't see any shadows or highlights. We just see the finer texture. Now let's go up to 21. Now we can start to see the problem area, but not quite. And remember, this is always based on the size and quality of the image. And another thing is, I'm always using numbers that can be divided by 3. We're gonna see why I'm doing that later. Now with 27, as you can see, there is the problematic area, and we can see the difference between the shadow and the highlight and exactly what we want to fix. So we click OK. Now we need to blur it. We're going to blur it exactly 1/3 of the high pass. That's why we use a number that can be divided by 3. So since we use 27 in the high pass, we're gonna use 9 for the Gaussian blur. And now we need to invert this layer. So we're gonna click Command I or Control I in a PC, or we could go to Image, Adjustment, Invert Image. Both do the same. So once we have the inverted high pass, we blend it linear light. And there we go. We get a really flat image, but we are not going to use it on the entire image. So we need to mask it out. We go to Layer, Layer Mask, Hide All. That creates a black mask over the entire effect so we can see it. Now we zoom in and we paint over the problematic area with white over the mask to show the effect. Small soft brush. and we paint over the problematic area. We paint on the edge of the problematic area. There. See? Now the transition between shadow and light is smooth, and we get to keep all the texture because we are only eliminating the 27 radio of texture, not the texture, the smaller texture. Remember in 12 we had the smaller texture and we're keeping that. We're just eliminating the contrast in the 27th radio of the high pass. We can't use this in the whole face. We can just use this where the difference between shadow and highlight is similar to the radio that we chose. So some people actually use just one radio and paint the whole face with it, and it doesn't look good, because we are choosing a specific radio that only works on specific areas. Is this effect, the high pass thing, is very easy to be overused. It's very easy to abuse the high pass. We won't use it on this difference between shadow and highlight. It could work on similar highlight shadow transition, but not with all. See? We can't use that radio on another bigger or smaller highlight difference. See, this highlight is really big. Then I would need a bigger radius, a higher radius. It's the same thing with the shadow in the neck. I can't smooth out that shadow with the other radius. So we're going to create another stump to get rid of bigger transitions between shadow and highlight. And this time we are going to do the same. Filters, others, high pass, and I'm gonna use a much higher radius because I wanna eliminate or smooth out higher or bigger differences between shadow and highlight. So I'm using, with 45, I can't quite see it yet. It doesn't quite work. I can't see the shadow yet. I can't see the highlight yet. Let's try 60. I can see the shadow, but not quite yet. 69 is better. I'm gonna go a little bit higher. 75 is gonna work better. I can see the full shadow, the full highlight. Always remember to look at the image when you're doing the high pass and actually identify the problem area in the high pass. Again, now I'm gonna Gaussian blur it. Filters, blur, Gaussian blur. 1/3 of the high pass, so that's 25. Now I invert it. Again, Command I, Control I for a PC or image adjustment invert. And we blend that linear light. Again, we mask it out. And we paint white over the problematic area. There. See how it unifies the transition between shadow and highlight?